Thank you very much, Brian. As we're going to get ready to close the show this evening, I want to talk about something that is extremely important and near and dear, not only to my heart, but to people in my community and through the whole of Long Island. And that subject is drugs. We've had a lot of problems with drugs in recent years. We've seen the stories about, heroin use is like skyrocketed, and deaths have, it's become like a real epidemic, and it's become a real problem. And it's terrifying to me personally because I've never done drugs. I'm terrified of drugs. And, whatever the drug is, I just won't do it because I know myself well enough to know that, I don't want to be fixed with something where I'm going to have, a dependency and problems, because that's really what the problem is with drugs, basically. You're a young person, you go to school and, or even older, and you get caught onto this thing. You think that it's not going to be a big deal. You think that, I'll just try it once and, and then, you end up realizing that some of these drugs are very, very powerful, and they can really mess with you, and they can mess with your life. They run the gamut, really, whether it's, marijuana, which is something that, you can develop a dependency on, and, it definitely can hurt you in life. It can hurt your ambitions, and it can definitely, especially when you're young, when you're a teenager, it's definitely not something that one should do. Because I know we're having there's been a lot of changes now with drugs regarding, the legalization of marijuana and all that. But I think the thing that most people don't understand is that, when people do these, when people are doing pot right now, it's basically you're getting it on the street from a dealer, and you don't know what is in these things half the time. They could be laced with other drugs, and every time people buy these things, it's a risk, and it's a risk to, lead into it. People say, there isn't a connection between marijuana and the harder stuff, but in some degrees, in that respect, there can be. So, it's a very tricky road to be on this kind of path in life, and especially heroin. Heroin is the most frightening of them all because heroin is very, very cheap. It's a very easy thing to be hooked on. It is scary. There have been stories about people who have done heroin, and it's just sad and it's just horrific. You have these stories of overdoses and people. The thing about getting on the drug is that it's hard to get off the drug, and it only takes really one time to really have problems in trying to get off, because you have to take methadone, and you have to even when people overdose, like I saw I was watching HBO's Real Sports, and they did a program on a young kid who overdosed of heroin because he was on an athletic program, and he needed the drugs to deal with pain, and he ended up getting brain damage from the overdose, and it just was so sad in terms of just how much of a problem drugs really is. And I've seen a lot of people, I know people that are very near and dear to my heart, have had loved ones already had to bury their friends and their family due to things like drugs, and even due to things like alcohol abuse. We had a story this past 24 hours in Cutchogue in out east in Long Island, where these bridesmaids were coming home from a vineyard, and they got hit by a drunk driver. And every time you hear stories like that, it's really sad. And this just really shows just how continuously sad this is. People need to they need to find things in their life where they're able to really just balance themselves. I use different things. Use your creativity. Definitely when you're young, you go to school, you keep yourself educated. You think about your life long term. You think about passion. You think about things you want to do with your life, like April did when she doing yoga and stuff like that. You got to think about things like that early on, about the things that really get you off the path to drugs. And it's just to it just really emphasize more and more. And I don't know if Dane wants to comment on because he's young and still in school, what experiences you have in terms of trying to stay on the right path off of drugs and off of things that are dangerous.
Yeah, so what I've seen in present years and what I pretty much do is video games and sports and school pretty much keep you away from all that. A lot of my friends play video games. We don't mess around with that stuff, and it just seems stupid to us. And so we play video games for our hobbies. I know a lot of people who play sports all the time in school. They play sports fall, spring, and winter, and I feel like sports, video games, and school really keep you on the right path. Make sure you stay away from all that stuff. It's not good, it's not healthy, and it just seems like a waste of time to me. So yes, that's my opinion.
Thank you so much for that. I just want to close out with saying that, I'm doing this not just for, in my hope that, people find, healthier ways to live their lives as apart from drugs, but in honor of very, wonderful people that, have to bury people, at such a young age. Bereavement is difficult enough in your life, and, you have to deal with having to have your friends and your family die off of this. It's just heartbreaking to me. But in that regard, there's always hope, and I want everybody, listening and watching right now to just do something wonderful with your life, and realize that we only have one life. Life is very, very short, and it's just that's the most important thing. In that you just have to. You have to live, basically. That's the really where it comes down to the nitty and the gritty of it. I just want to thank everybody here. Everybody did a fantastic job. I want to thank April from Long Beach Yoga. I want to thank all my regulars. Thank you to Joe Satriano. Thank you to my videographer and social media man, Andrew Case. I want to thank Dan DiPasquale for giving us so much insight on the youth of Long Beach and the surf culture. So thank you very much for that. Next week we're going to be at Overlook on the Beach. This should be a very fantastic show. And I'm going to wrap up in pure halftime Howie style. We filled in for halftime. I want to thank you for your time. Please join us next Sunday night for another edition for halftime. But this time we're out of time. See you next Sunday!